So pleased to have Frank Clemente in the office with me. I'm saying it right now, aren't I?
Yes, Clemente.
Yeah. Frank Clemente, the Executive Director of Americans for Tax Fairness. Americans for, F-O-R, taxfairness.org is the website. And you guys have just come out with this amazing report. The focus is Walmart, but I think this is meta to a much larger issue. But let's begin at the beginning. Tell us about the report.
Yeah.
In fact, tell us about Americans for Tax Fairness first.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks for letting me be here. We're a coalition of 425 national and state organizations working to ensure we have a progressive tax system. We are focused a lot on corporate taxes, corporate tax abuse, corporate tax avoidance, but also we want the wealthy to pay their fair share of taxes as well.
Yeah, a fine idea.
It's
and the wealthy are very opposed to that.
I like to say we've had 35 years of sort of, Republican hegemony on the tax issue, right? Where basically the sense has been that you have to have a smaller government and you have to reduce taxes. What's interesting, we've done a lot of polling over the last 2-3 years, and the American people, their agenda is they want corporations and the rich to pay their fair share. They know that they are getting screwed by the system. The people are,
right.
And that the corporations and wealthy folks are getting away with murder because of the loopholes that are out there.
Yeah, it's absolutely true, and it's a crime. So, to the point of that, what's Walmart up to?
Well, so we wanted to focus on Walmart, which is the biggest corporation in America, and show how much they get away with in terms of tax loopholes. And what we found is there's some 3 top-line numbers, right? Right now, they're saving $1 billion a year through tax loopholes off what the top tax rate is, $1 billion a year.
What kind of tax loopholes do they use?
Mostly accelerated depreciation. It's a freebie that corporations got inserted into the tax code years ago and haven't been able to get rid of it. It basically, the amount of time that it takes to wear out plant and equipment, they're able to take it on an accelerated basis. So it's a lot quicker. They can deduct the cost of it a lot quicker than the actual plant and equipment wears out.
Right.
They also are leading a charge to reduce corporate tax rates. The current statutory tax rate, that's the rate in law, is 35%. They want to bring it down to 25%. So that's a very substantial cut in taxes. We examined how much would they cut their tax bill if they did that, and that would add another $700 million a year in tax breaks.
Wow.
And then the other thing that we found is that they have $21 billion that's sitting offshore. These are profits that have been generated offshore, but they've not brought them back to America. And the reason they haven't brought them back to America is you don't have to pay taxes on those profits until they're returned to America. And so they're kind of waiting around. They're hoping that Congress will pass a tax bill that will basically give them a free pass on
Congress
those
has
profits.
done this before.
They did it. They did it back in 2004. It was called a repatriation tax holiday. What that means is companies repatriate. They bring the money that's offshore. They bring it back here to America. They paid a 5% tax rate on that money back in 2004.
And we were told that when they repatriated that money that it was going to create an explosion in jobs because when all this money came back into the United States, they would use it to invest in factories and facilities. And instead what happened was they increased their dividends and their CEOs took giant bonuses.
And that's right. And they also did stock buybacks.
Yeah, a lot of stock buybacks.
To inflate the value of their stock,
right.
Which came back to the executives as well, since a lot of their compensation is in the form of stocks,
right.
Stock options. So that's right. It was a total boondoggle. Everybody recognizes that as a total boondoggle. $300 billion came back, and not one job was created from it. In fact, the Congressional Research Service did a study of this and found that most of the companies, the biggest companies that brought the most money back, actually cut their workforces in the years right afterwards.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was a total scam, and they know that. Congress knows that too, and yet companies are still up here trying to work a deal on it. They know they can't get a freestanding bill like that passed anymore because of how bad it was the first time. They want to have it be part of overall corporate tax reform and try and sneak it through.
So how do we message this? How do we communicate this? Actually, let me back up a little bit. Walmart, the things you just identified are like the clear off the top federal tax stuff. Walmart is also profiting from going into communities and saying, give us free land, give us free utilities, give us tax abatements for 5 or 10 or 15 years, and we'll hire 200 people. And so they're getting, and I don't, have you guys quantified the amount
across
of
the
money?
country? We haven't. Good Jobs First has done that. I think it's something like $80 million of facility, but I'm not sure if it's that much
in goodies. And then on top of that, they've got a business model where they pay people a low enough wage that those people qualify for food stamps and for housing support and for Medicaid. And so we're picking up the bill for their employees. So, my understanding is we're subsidizing, just on that level, we're subsidizing every Walmart in the country to the tune of roughly $1 million a year.
Yeah, we did a study on this, actually, put it out on tax day. Go to our website. It's called Walmart on Tax Day. And we looked at tried to do an estimate as to how much overall American taxpayers are subsidizing the low wages and the meager benefits that Walmart employees get. Remember, most of them are making just above the minimum wage, which when they've got a family, for a lot of folks, it qualifies them for Medicaid, as you said, for the Earned Income Tax Credit, which is a tax credit they get for low wages, for child care and things like that, food stamps. And we found that it's a $6 billion a year tab that's on the taxpayer.
$6 billion.
$6 billion a year. That's correct. So
distributed over how many stores in North America? Do we know?
2,000 sticks in my mind, but I don't want to go to the
so
bank.
It's more than $1 million a store.
I can't remember that we did a breakdown per store, but it's a phenomenal amount of money. And this isn't just Walmart. I mean, all the fast food industry, all these
this is a
big
business
box,
model.
It's a business model. All these now. Look as taxpayers, we need to help people who are at a minimum wage and just above a minimum wage. So it's sort of hard to say, well, they shouldn't get these benefits. That's not what we're saying. What we need to say is these companies should be paying a livable wage so that these folks aren't going to need these benefits from tax.
Well, this is what FDR said. He said the best welfare program is a good job.
Right.
Right.
That's right.
It's this is common sense stuff. And so Republicans right now are aggressively talking about we need to reform the tax code.
Right.
And you and I both know what that means. They want more Reaganomics.
They've said
35-year experiment that has totally failed and destroyed the American middle class. The Republicans want, as Sam Brownback did in Kansas, they want to double down on this. How do we message? What should somebody say when they call their member of Congress, particularly the Democratic member of Congress, and say, yes, we want tax reform, but let's not just run into this thing the way that the Republicans are talking.
Well, and I want to say, you said it, Democratic members of Congress, right? We're not going to win this battle with the Republicans, but we have a problem on the Democratic side of this issue as well. There are not enough Democrats that are willing to stand up and say corporations, and this is how you message it, right? Corporations and wealthy Americans ought to be paying their fair share of taxes.
Right.
Fair share of taxes is a winning message. It wins with the public at large. It is outrageous that you have companies, General Electric, a company that had $28 billion in profits over the last 5 years. You know how much they paid in taxes?
Nothing?
They got $3 billion in refunds.
Wow.
Okay? Over a 5-year period, they got you, me, most of your listeners out there, single family, paid more in taxes in 1 year than General Electric paid over 5 years. This is one of the biggest corporations in America. It's a corporation that has, makes billions of dollars in profits every year, and it's paying nothing in taxes. How outrageous is that? That's all you need to say in the public that's with you like that.
Yeah, amazing. Frank Clemente with Americans for Tax Fairness, FOR, AmericansForTaxFairness.org. Frank, keep up the great work. Thanks for dropping by.
Cheers.
Great to see you.